On today's episode, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 opens this weekend, and right now it is set to be the second biggest opening of the year. Marvel's Secret Invasion now has an official number of episodes and a runtime for those episodes. We'll talk about that a little bit. It's official. Kevin Costner is leaving Yellowstone after season 5. We'll go down all the timeline about why he's leaving the show. Hey, listen, we know House of the Dragon already has all of its scripts written, but there are a number of very big, high-profile TV shows that are going to get delayed and bumped as a result of the writer's strike. We're going to go over some of those. A lot of people have been comparing the situation between Robert Downey Jr. and Ezra Miller. We're going to talk about some of the key differences between their situations. The writer's strike is having a big impact on Marvel as a whole right now. We're going to talk about why. And since it is May the 4th, we're going to rank the definitive official ranking of the worst to best Star Wars feature films just for you, all on today's episode of the John Campea Show. The show starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world. Movies, movie news, TV, and streaming, all sorts of good things. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you information and context so you can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're exactly the same or completely different from ours. Joining us today over there is Ray. Sitting back there, we've got Jen in her all her Star Wars gear. Jonathan running the show here today. The delightful Chris Carr is here. And of course, most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it into two parts. In the first part of the show, we're going to talk about those predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your questions, and we're going to do it two ways. One way you can get your question on is by anytime, 24/7. You don't have to wait for the show to be live. Send in your question to our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Once again, it can be like 3 o'clock in the morning. If you have an idea for a question, send it on in. Then after we're done getting through the tip questions, we're going to go over to you guys who are watching live, and we will take your super chat questions if you have them. The super chats are now open. They'll only be open for a limited time, so if you have questions for the show, go ahead and get them in as soon as you can. Want to remind you guys, if you need your daily fix of the John Campea Show, but you can't be in front of a YouTube video, maybe you're commuting or you're at work, good news, there's an audio-only version of the show simply called the John Campea Show podcast. Go on your favorite podcasting app of choice, search for it today, and subscribe to it so it'll be there when you need it. Also, want to remind you guys that this Sunday is we only just renamed it Movie Club, but it is our second live event with me, Christian Harloff, The Real Rejects, Greg Alba. We're going to be doing a live event in Burbank, California at the Flappers Comedy Club. We're going to be talking about, the YouTube world, but specifically we're going to be focusing in on talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So we hope that you guys can come and join us. Tickets are available down in the description of this video. If you live in the LA area, we hope you will come out and meet us and join us for that evening. But if you don't live anywhere near LA, we're going to actually do something a little bit different with this event. We're actually going to do it live streaming as well as a pay-per-view. If you'd like to get a digital ticket for the pay-per-view stream, those links are down in the description as well. All right, guys. With all that down, let's get things started here, and we're going to kick things off with this. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, of course, opens this weekend. I've seen it. It's wonderful. I don't think it's the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I still think the first one was probably the best one, but I really had a great time with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's nice to say that about a Marvel movie again, because it's been a little bit since I've been able to say that, but I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think most of you will as well. But the question is going to be, with comic book movies in general struggling a little bit at the box office lately, obviously, of course, we talked a lot about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam. Did not come anywhere near its potential. Shazam 2, despite the fact that I like that movie, it was a complete flop. Even Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania made more than, Black Adam and thing, but for a Marvel movie, it came in, I don't even know if it crossed 500 million. Somebody fact check that for me. Did Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania even cross 500 million? I'm not sure that it did.
I think it made one Rock plus. I mean, not
it
Rock,
made one Rock
plus
70 million more or something like that. I think it ended like around 480 million or something like that. If somebody can get me that information. But at any rate, So the question has been
474.
470. Oh, so I was right on the money.
Okay, yeah.
One
Black
rock
Adam plus
plus
474.
one Black Adam plus 74 million more.
Okay.
So the question going into Guardians of the Galaxy has been, how will it do? Because there has been this false idea going around that, oh, the reason the box office for some of these comic book movies is because of comic book fatigue. That's ridiculous. That has nothing to do with it. Because if it had to do with comic book fatigue, well, it would have set in 7 years ago. No, it is not a coincidence that we've started to see declining box office with these comic book movies at the exact same time that we've seen generally a declining quality of the box office or the quality of the comic book movies. There is a direct correlation. And as the movies disappoint people, fewer people go. They don't go back several times. They don't encourage their other friends to go. But it's not a coincidence that we've been seeing a dip in the overall quality of comic book material at the same time that we're seeing a general dip in the box office results. The two are connected. When the comic book movies are all bangers, the box office is huge. So what's going to happen with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Well, as of right now, the projections on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are that it will be the second biggest opening of the year so far. What are we in now, May? What is that, the 5th month of the year? I'm terrible at this stuff. Yeah. So obviously the number one opening weekend box office of the year was the Super Mario Brothers. With an official opening weekend number, what did we say it was, Chris? 146?
146, yeah.
$146 million was the official opening weekend for the Super Mario Brothers. Now, I know some people say, wait, I heard it was higher. That's the 5-day number, but the official opening weekend, Mario Brothers is number one with 146. I think the number two right now is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with 106, with $106 million. Right now, the projections for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are to come in at 120. Now, whenever I bring up box office, when we talk about box office, I always hear, and I even saw a couple people in the live chat before the show started saying, well, box office doesn't matter. Box office only matters if you're a shareholder of the studio. And no, that's not true. A lot of people always ask me, John, why are you so fixated on box office? See, I'm fixated on box office because what box office tells us. Box office doesn't just tell us how much money the studio has made off the movie. Box office tells us what kind of marketing campaigns are working with the audience. Box office tells us, what are we as the movie-going audience interested in right now? Box office of movies tells us, or can give us insight into which movies are motivating people to go back several times, and which movies are inspiring us to encourage our other friends to go. Box office information tells us what types of trends in the theatrical industry right now and which way are things going. There is so much information that gets delivered to us as even just movie fans on the backs of box office numbers. There's a lot of information buried in there that I think is very key to us as film fans. So right now they're saying 120. Now, I believe that number might be a little low. Now, hey, listen, it very well we could do the show on Monday and find out Guardians of the Galaxy actually made 108. All right, that's fine, whatever. I actually think it's going to get closer to 130, maybe 140. I think people are going to see this movie Thursday night, Friday, and I think there's going to be a lot of people going back to see it Saturday and Sunday. And I think there's going to be people going back to see it. Now, again, I don't think this is the number one film of the year, but I think it's a very good movie. And in what has been a dry period for comic book movies in terms of quality, I think a lot of people are going to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and feel really refreshed of having a really good quality, again, not top 5 comic book movie of all time or anything like that, but a really good quality, exciting, fun, emotionally moving comic book film. And then I think the people that are going to benefit most from Guardians of the Galaxy having some success like that is going to be The Flash. I think people are going to get back into the mood. It's like, all right, comic book movies can be great. We forgot about that. They can be fun. They can be interesting. They can have emotional depth. They can have all that stuff. And then they're going to go out and see Flash as well. So if it can open to 120 million, I think that would be a very good start for Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I saw some conversations going on in the live chat with somebody saying, Well, even if 120, that's not too far ahead of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and that was a box office disaster. So it'll be a disaster for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 if it opens to 120 million. There's a big difference. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania sucked, and people didn't want to go back to see it again. Although that's a matter of opinion, of course. There's somebody in this room who quite liked Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Jonathan liked that movie. I mean, and there are others who do as well. But I'm just saying it's a matter of opinion. But I think you're going to find one of the big differences that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania could have done just fine at the box office, even with a $106 million opening, if people liked it.
Yeah.
And if they went back to it, and if they told other people about it. That is going to be the big difference. So if Guardians of the Galaxy can open with 120, 130 million, I think that is them being off to a great start. Great start, considering the slump the genre has been in of late. Anyway, Chris, you're going to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 tonight.
Yes, I'm seeing it today at 3 Regal 40X.
I wish I was sitting beside you, or wish there was at least a
I'm so
webcam
excited.
on you during
I'm
watching
so
it.
excited about it. And I get to go with Logan too, which is going to be so great because he loves things so much and like suspends his disbelief in such a way that makes it so fun to watch movies with him. But I'm thrilled about seeing this. I think it's going to do really well. I mean, it's the last in this particular trilogy, right? This last of these Guardians. There's always an incredible soundtrack. These movies are fun. They're really, really fun. And maybe the second one lost its footing a little bit with ego and everything, which is generally just a very hard villain, in my opinion, to put on screen too. But I'm really, really stoked about this. Everything I've seen looks so great. Hearing how you enjoyed it makes me really, really excited about this too. Yeah.
What do you think about the numbers? Do you think, like, go back 2 months ago and ask Chris Carr from 2 months ago, hey, if Guardians of the Galaxy were to open to 120 million, is that something Marvel should feel good about, worried about, excited about? I don't know. What do you think?
Great about. They should feel great about it because like you were saying, the issue with Ant-Man was, yeah, it started out strong, but then people saw the movie and we all went, boo, this is not so great. Well, not all of us. That's me being hyperbolic, but it didn't do well. And the word of mouth was, hey, this is probably one that you can skip. You don't need to go see this Marvel movie. You know, I feel like this is going to be a film that the word of mouth is going to be fantastic on. People are going to want to go see this. We've got a really, really fantastic cast. We are rounding out the end of this story. I think that box office being around that 120 mark, Disney should feel very good about it, and they should feel good about the trajectory of where they're going with these next few phases.
Again, just want to remind people that the number one opening box office weekend this year has been Super Mario Brothers, which is officially at 146.
Yeah.
That's not too terribly ahead of 120.
Chris Pratt's having a good year.
Yeah, Chris Pratt's having a very good year. And guess what? That Mario Brothers movie, that if Guardians opens to 120, only opened officially at 26 million more, that movie's in the $1 billion club. Now, I am not saying that I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to join the $1 billion club. Let's be clear about that. But I think it would be a really good start for them. Fingers crossed. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think is going to happen here? Right now, the official projections for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is to come in around 120. I personally think it's going to come in a little bit north of that. Maybe it'll come in a little bit south of that. Do you think that's good news for Marvel? Do you think that's bad news for Marvel? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's stay on the MCU train here for a second. Going from the big screen to the small screen, there's a new show coming out. Don't know if you heard. I believe on June 21st called Secret Invasion with Samuel L. Jackson back as Nick Fury. And we've been knowing it's coming out for a while and all that kind of stuff. Well, now, apparently, we actually have the official number of episodes and the official runtime of Secret Invasion. And neither are really surprising. This comes to us from the folks over at Coming Soon, who wrote the following. According to Empire Magazine, Marvel Studios' upcoming Disney Plus series Secret Invasion will consist of 6 hour-long episodes. The espionage thriller miniseries runtime and episode length is similar to previous shows, including The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Hawkeye. It will be available for streaming on June 21st, which serves as the first series in Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All right. So, we've got a episode count, 6. Boo. They're saying it's hour-long episodes. Yay? I mean, coming off of Mandalorian, which you never know if it's actually going to be 28 minutes or 48 minutes or whatever, they're saying 6 hour-long episodes. Now, when they say hour-long, do they mean TV hour? Because generally TV hours like 47 or 48 minutes. But or do they legitimately mean these are going to be at least an hour long? I hope so, because one of the things that I'm really frustrated about these Disney Plus series is how they're so short. Which ultimately leads us to a situation like what we had with Obi-Wan, where several online editors proved, hey, that just would have worked better as a movie. If you edited it right, it just would have worked better as a movie than this stupid piece of crap 6-episode nonsense. But if you're telling me it's going to be an hour long each episode, and I'll tell you what, I have seen some of Secret Invasion. I have read all the scripts of Secret Invasion and had to see some footage. And this kind of tracks with me. It feels like this, yeah, but it's hard to tell just from reading a script, but it does feel like it would be around an hour long, or maybe even a little bit an hour plus. So there we go. Look, I've never mentioned this. I have been Marvel's Disney Plus series have been very hit and miss with me. A little bit more miss than hit. But at least on the page, Secret Invasion is hitting me real well. Like if it turns out the way I think, it'll end up being my third favorite Disney Plus series. After WandaVision and Ms. Marvel, it'll probably be this. If it turns out as good as it reads, it'll certainly be better than She-Hulk. It'll certainly be better than Hawkeye. It'll certainly be better than Moon Knight. So, I mean, and I think it reads better than Loki, and I think it reads better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But we often see that scripts don't automatically translate well to the screen. But from what I've seen, and I've seen a little bit, it's starting to look pretty good too. Anyway, Chris, going into it, I think a lot of us were probably expecting it would be like a 6-episode thing, but we've now got it's official. 6 episodes, hour long each, around where you thought. Are you a little disappointed? Are you satisfied? What do you think?
I'm a little disappointed. I really wanted this to be longer because I only read a page of the script. I read a major spoiler that made me think about investing in certain hot toys.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know exactly the page you read. Just for the record, I did not show it to you.
No.
But I know
I read
which
it
page
on
it
a break
is.
during the show though, and almost screamed. And it was, and we're back. And I was just like, I don't know how to do anything right now. I am disappointed though, because I want this to be, and it still could be, right? I want this to be this boots on the ground espionage thriller, and 6 episodes just seems so short, especially with the Disney Plus track record here. I do like that they're hour-long episodes. That gives me a little bit more hope here, but I haven't been loving these kind of mini-series takes on these things. If you're going to do a show, give me a full show. Give me at least 8 to 10 episodes, the way that we're doing things. And maybe the 6 episodes, they tell their full story here. I mean, Samuel Jackson signing on for a Disney Plus show, that does give me a big vote of confidence. That being said, we've been burned before. Disney Plus hasn't had the best track record on delivering. And so I really am nervous about a short-lived series here. I wish it was more. I really, really wish it was more, especially because, I mean, when you get into the Secret Invasion story, at least in comic book form, there's so much to dive into. From an adapting standpoint alone, this is kind of a nightmare. A lot of these Marvel properties that they're diving into are really, really hard to condense down for film, for television. So I hope it's enough time. I'm real nervous about it.
Well, every Marvel storyline that gets based on the comics takes great liberties.
For sure.
Which they need to do, but how
Secret
much?
Invasion is just so specific. And obviously
Yeah.
we know there's going to be some big swings and roundabouts just because of the way the Skrulls have been introduced in Marvel for the screen. But it's just such a specific, iconic story to me that I'm hoping they nail it. And
Man,
I hope they
if I
do
really
it in
wanted-
6 episodes.
If I wanted to get my first million view video, I should really do a open spoiler discussion of Secret Invasion before it airs.
Disney will blow dart you so fast.
I've signed no agreement with Disney. I
I'm
have
just
no
saying,
NDA
they'll
with
find
Disney.
you, man. The Disney Gestapo will come
I
out.
have no NDA with Disney. I have no kind. There's nothing stopping me from doing it.
That you are.
I won't.
Tread lightly, Campea.
I
Dangerous
won't.
games.
Yeah, I'll be sleeping, and then I kind of think I hear a sound. All of a sudden, I hear this whisper in my ear. Oh! And then, then
You listen to me, you
then
Canadian
everything
son of a
goes
bitch.
dark.
I know what you did.
And everything goes dark. Nah, I won't do it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We've now got the runtime and the number of episodes for the upcoming Secret Invasion. What do you think about that? You know what? If it's an hour long each, Maybe it'll feel a little bit more satisfying. Again, I still wish they were longer. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Anyway, all right. Next up, guys, going from some interesting news to some really straight up ass bad news. Up until The Last of Us, the show that I believe is the best show on television is Yellowstone. I love Yellowstone, and it is psychotically popular. Like, I think 3 times the amount of viewers that watch Succession. That doesn't make it better. I'm just saying it is a psychotically high quality show of extreme excellence. It's The Godfather on horses. It's The Godfather crossed with Sons of Anarchy on horses. I mean, that's what Yellowstone
Strong
is.
elevator pitch.
that is a great elevator pitch. And Taylor Sheridan, who's one of the best storytellers out there right now, it's his brainchild and it's his baby and all that kind of stuff. Well, we heard back in February some reports going around that Kevin Costner was going to be leaving the show. Well, now, according to Entertainment Tonight, again, this is not a Gus's Gas Station Movie Reviews.fart website. It's Entertainment Tonight is exclusively revealing that they have confirmed that Kevin Costner is out after the end of season 5. He is gone and will not be returning for season 6. And this, to me, is I'm of two minds. The optimist in me says, hey, we got 5 seasons, which is more than a lot of Netflix show fans can say for a lot of their favorite shows. But hey, you know what? We got 5 seasons. 5 seasons of insanely great television that I have absolutely adored. And the other optimist in me is that the great thing is that it has not just been about John Dutton. It hasn't just been Kevin Costner. This show is filled with fantastic, multi-dimensional characters that all have a million shades of gray to them that I've absolutely adored, each and every one of them. Almost every one of the major characters on the show, if you did a spin-off of those characters, I would watch those shows. Whether it's Rip or any of the rest of them, I would watch it. The show's that great. On the other hand, it is very disappointing to hear that the cause may not be there. It may not be, is officially going to be done. But it's really not surprising when we look down the timeline. Let's look at the timeline of what's been going on here. And apparently at the heart of this whole problem, it has been Costner and Taylor Sheridan just do not get along. Back in February, first reports came out that Yellowstone may end after season 5 due to Costner only wanting to shoot 1 week. So here's what happened. As those of you who watch Yellowstone know, season 5 was broken into 2 parts. The first part of season 5 was already aired, and then we were supposed to have like an 8-month break between that. They haven't even started shooting the second part of season 5 yet. And one of the holdups has been that, according to the reports, that Costner only wanted to spend 1 week shooting the second part of season 5. Those are reports that came out of Deadline. Anyway, that got compounded then by reports from Puck that suggested that Costner also wanted a raise, despite the fact that as of the moment, he was the highest paid actor on television with a reported $1.2 to $1.5 million per episode. Which, when you combine that with the fact that he only really wanted to be in 5 minutes of each episode in the second part of season 5, when he was getting paid $1.2 to $1.5 million per episode, you can see how that would rub things the wrong way. It goes on. Reports then later claim constant creative control clashes between Costner and show creator Taylor Sheridan. Now, of course, you got to remember, Kevin Costner is not just an actor. He is an Academy Award-winning director. He's a producer. He's a bit of a storyteller himself. Well, Taylor Sheridan is also pretty much reported to be an alpha male. Like, he likes to have absolute, unquestioned control over his properties, and that's worked for him. That's worked real well when you look at his movies, when you looked at 1923, 1883, now you look Yellowstone. I mean, the King of Tulsa isn't as good as the Yellowstone stuff, but King of Tulsa enjoyed great success for Paramount. And also because you got 2 alphas like that, and apparently there's been a lot of clashing, creative clashing. Anyway, then the drama got ratcheted up when last month the popular Paley Fest festival, if you're a TV fan, you know Paley Fest. It's kind of like Comic-Con for just television, where the biggest shows bring all their stars and directors and do these big panels, and it's a big celebrated thing. Well, last second, the Yellowstone one got scrapped, and we all know why. But at the very last second, that upped the drama that kind of suggests thing. And again, like we mentioned earlier, this is how big of a mess this is. The second half of season 5 hasn't even started shooting yet. Hasn't even started shooting yet. It's supposed to start airing again in November. And listen, if they started shooting soon, they can make that November date. They can. But it puts it all in a little bit of peril. Listen, this, like many of the drama stories in Hollywood, is one in which we, as the outside people looking in, we as fans have to acknowledge first and foremost, we don't know everything. We're gleaning and seeing little bits of information. So we got to be careful here. So I'm not going to sit here and ascribe blame completely to Taylor Sheridan or completely to Kevin Costner or completely to anybody. I will say this, though. Even before Yellowstone, and you guys know I'm a big Kevin Costner guy, but even before Yellowstone, the rap on Kevin Costner around Hollywood has been, he's kind of the supreme Hollywood diva. And there have been many, many, many stories from directors and everything that he can be very difficult to work with. And when you get somebody like that up against somebody who apparently is very control-centric and very stubborn, like a Taylor, as much of a genius as he is, as Taylor Sheridan, the fact that this thing lasted 5 years is shocking to me. And great. Listen, I'm sitting here today as a guy whose heart is broken. I want to see more of this. There are going to be more spinoffs. There are going to be more extensions of the show. That's the world of Yellowstone will continue. But it sucks that one of my favorite characters on TV won't be there anymore. Anyway, Chris, you heard about this story. Apparently it is now official. Kevin Costner will depart the show after the second part of season 5, if he is even in the second part of season 5, which he contractually is obligated to do, but who knows? What do you make of all this?
I mean, this is kind of a mess, isn't it? The Paley Fest stuff is where I really raised my eyebrows, because that really is the mecca of television conventions, right? And for those of you who live in the LA area, it is a must if you want to be involved in the television industry to go and attend it, because in the best way, you learn how the sausage is made. You get all this behind the scenes information about the production, how things went, how actors connected with things, how writers were doing their work on these. It is fabulous. And it's also honestly a big part of kind of Emmy campaigning is doing all of that. This is a show that got Kevin Costner a Golden Globe, for this role. He has gotten only positive reviews from this show. So it is a shame to see a partnership like that kind of dissolve. And this actually comes to at a very difficult time for Kevin Costner. I know we're not, a TMZ kind of group, but he also is going through a divorce. His wife just filed for divorce with him while all this news was breaking. So there's a lot going on for Kevin Costner. That all being said, at the end of the day, we are all of service to a story, right? And hopefully we are making the best with the people we're working with. I'm not a big fan of hearing about creators who are, it's my way or the highway. Obviously, we don't know if that's actually true. I also don't like actors who are I'm number one on the call sheet, so everyone's going to listen to me. I don't think that's a great way to behave either. We're all trying to make a story together, so let's all try to just behave like adults and come together. And as much value as I find in my profession, Kevin Costner is also replaceable, frankly, at the end of the day. And I'm not a big Yellowstone fan. Let me put that out there, too. I'm not as into this show as you are. So, I mean, maybe losing John Dutton is a huge, huge loss if it's writing off that character, killing off the character, or replacing him, But it is what it is. If he doesn't want to be part of this show, and if they can't come to an amicable agreement for having him on there, there's no point in him sticking around, right? The idea of him saying that he would only do 1 week's worth of work, though, I do find kind of eyebrow raising. His lawyer has come out against that statement, too, saying that's a ridiculous accusation. Of course, that's what your lawyer would do for you.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he was willing to be there for 7 days or 8
multiple days.
For 8 days.
Anyone who's ever made a television show before, though, it takes days to make an episode. Time is money, but it's not a week to do an entire season. So that was something that stuck out to me, too, of this is a seasoned professional who, sure, a lot of these guys, we mentioned Samuel L. Jackson earlier, he's got golf course days written into his contract so he can go off and, play golf. But we all know how long it takes to make television. A week ain't it. That's one that makes me raise my eyebrows a little bit. I feel like that's something that the rumor mill got a hold of.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you like me? Are you a big Yellowstone fan? Maybe you haven't watched it. Guys, if you haven't, you've got a treat in front of you. You got 4.5 seasons that you get to binge and get caught up, and you're going to love this show. It's great. But Kevin Costner apparently is not going to be there anymore. Do you think Yellowstone can survive? I mean, listen, 1883 and 1923 didn't have him in it, and they seem to work. I don't know. Or maybe it's doomed without him. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, the writer strike is on, and as long as it's going on, it's probably going to be the number one story. And its impact is only going to start getting felt more and more and more. We talked on the show the other day that the thing with the writer strike is we're not going to wake up in the morning and have the lights not turn on. You're not going to feel, we as fans will not feel the effects of the writer strike immediately. It's going to be as time starts to go on, we're going to feel it more and more. For example, several shows that we know that are already like written and in the can. House of the Dragon season 2. They got all their scripts completely written. They're done. They're ready to go. Other shows like Never Have I Ever. By the way, if you have not watched Never Have I Ever.
So good.
I'm a little bit biased. A friend of mine works on that show. But I think you met Lauren Spencer, didn't you? I think, anyway, but a friend of mine works on that show. It's so charming. It is
really
way more charming than I ever thought it would be, but it's great. So shows like that, scripts done, already, production rolling, all that kind of stuff, they're safe. But some new reports have been coming out about shows that aren't already done, but are the ones that actually are getting delayed and bumped as a result of the writer strike already, because they were either getting ready to go into development or they were already in the middle of development. Some of the ones are this, like right at the top, the most obvious one is Saturday Night Live. Because Saturday Night Live is one that, it's like literally written week to week. So we knew about that one, and the late night talk shows, like, because those get literally written day by day. By the way, what's his name? Myers, the late night host. Seth Meyers, right? He put out a great statement the other day about the writers. He said,
"Who needs them?"
He said, "Who needs them?" But he said, it's not that everybody deserves to work in this business. But if you are working in this business, you deserve to earn a fair compensation, right? He said that. So the late night shows, they're already been affected. But some of y'all's favorite shows, the stories out of the Deadline and out of Variety that are now on hold. Yellowjackets. Apparently that one was big. They literally started the writer's room for the next season of Yellowjackets, and the next day the strike happened. So that got shut down. Stranger Things is apparently now in hiatus, as in development hiatus, as they were not ready for the next season, so they're on hold. Severance, which is spectacular show.
Good.
Now there are reports coming out that it was having problems anyway, but now that the writer strike has happened, according to the reports, that one shut down. Cobra Kai. I don't watch Cobra Kai. Don't know why any of you do. But apparently a lot of you do, and a lot of you like it.
And we'll be heartbroken.
My wife loves this show.
Yeah.
But apparently even Cobra Kai is now, it's good. This is going to get delayed. This is going to get hurt as a result of the thing. Abbott Elementary, which was the first network comedy show to win the Emmy for best comedy in like how many years? Was it like 12 years or something like that? It was something crazy like that. The first network show to win, but Abbott Elementary. Good Omens, which a lot of people like. Their writer's room has now been shut down.
Wow.
Big Mouth have been shut down, and over 21 other shows. Now, again, since Yellowjackets, the next season wasn't supposed to come out tomorrow, and Stranger Things wasn't supposed to come out tomorrow, and Severance wasn't supposed to come out tomorrow, and Cobra Kai wasn't supposed to come out tomorrow. Again, we're not going to feel it right now. But as more and more time drags on, we're going to start to notice it, and we're going to start to feel it more and more. And listen, I just really hope these producers, these writers, the unions, the representation, that they can just get on the same page here quick. Because listen, all this can be saved. I mean, if they can come to an agreement within the next couple of weeks, they'll almost be able to get this completely back to smooth sailing, other than things like the late night talk shows and Saturday Night Live. Those we're feeling already. But if they can get this settled relatively soon, everything could be okay. I just hope they do. Anyway, Chris, as somebody with a bit of a dog in this hunt, because your union is now beginning in negotiations with the producers as well. You guys have been paying very close attention to what goes on with the writers union. A lot of you guys are standing in solidarity with the writers. You see this list of shows, you know it's just going to grow up. What do you think about this list, and How optimistic would you be that maybe we could see this brought to a conclusion in the next couple of weeks, maybe?
I feel like what's so frustrating here is that there was no negotiation, really, at the end of the day here.
Right.
It was just no. There was no meeting of the minds here. It was just constant no's about just making things more transparent. Hey,
Right.
you guys do, in fact, know how to track your streaming numbers. There is absolutely a clear way to do residuals and find these numbers. Nope, there's no way. There's no way for us to know how many numbers, like how many people are watching these shows.
And we know that's
Yes,
a lie.
there is.
That's a lie.
That's a bold-faced
Yeah.
lie. That's absolutely bonkers. Hey, we really don't want these mini rooms where we're taking advantage of these writers. Nah, too bad. Hey, we really don't want to do these things where we are writing 8 to 10 episodes of a show that never even gets into the pre-production stage past writing and you guys immediately cancel it. No, there's all these things that really don't make sense to me. A friend of mine struck up a conversation at the dog park with somebody this week, and their staff writer for one of those Emmy Award nominated shows on this list you just showed. And they also work at a Regal movie theater.
Wow.
And there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having multiple jobs. I have multiple jobs. But I think the idea, and I really want this to get out there to our viewers too, is this is not a gilded goose kind of job. When you are a staff writer, you are still working to make ends meet. And the thing that's really, really sad to me is that this has become a gig job. I've brought this up before. And it shouldn't be. It really, really shouldn't be. It should be something that is treated with a bit more respect. This money is just going to executives. I read this great quote this week, and I'm going to butcher it, but someone was talking about writers give you the stories you like. They gave you The Bear. They gave you Succession. They gave you all these great things. You know what executives gave you? Quibi. All right? Collider just put out an article talking about the potential loss of the writer's strike already just 2 days in. And from the stock market drops, you were talking about this off camera earlier about some of these stocks, right? And I defer to Jonathan on so much of this, but they're already estimating this potential $10 billion loss when all of the things the writers are asking for would equate to maybe under $430 million.
I think they say a $470 something million dollars in total.
In total, for the thousands of guild members. It's bad business. You don't treat your employees like dog shit, because then after a while you realize, hey, there's way more of us than you, and you rise up from it. So I'm really hoping that hurting them where this really hurts, in their, in their wallets, in their purse strings, does something. But I remember that 2007 strike, and we lost some really, really fantastic shows that just kind of went wayward because they had one season in and they didn't get to pick up again. We lost Pushing Daisies and things like that. Really, really fun, innovative, cool shows.
Heroes
And
fell off the cliff.
Heroes got so wacky after all that. So I really, really hope that they make these changes because they need to. It's the most basic asks. And I keep reiterating this just because going through the comments sometimes, you guys, I really just hope you grasp that this isn't people asking for buckets of money. It's asking for living wages.
To your story about the person in the dog park.
Yeah.
Back when I hired Taylor to be my assistant, a staff writer of a network TV show was one of the people who applied for my assistant job. And ultimately, I couldn't hire them because I didn't know what their schedule was going to be.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't commit to a certain schedule.
They're free now.
But what's that?
They're free now.
Yeah, they're free now. They got some free time now. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The writer's strike is already having a big impact on several major shows. Cobra Kai, Severance, Yellowjackets, Stranger Things, Avatar, on and on and on. We're going to start to feel it more as things go on. How are you feeling about this? Do you have any optimism? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, we still got to talk about the Robert Downey Jr. and Ezra Miller situations, how they differ. We're going to talk about how this writer's strike is impacting Marvel as a whole. We're going to be ranking all the Star Wars films. But before we get to those, we want to take just a minute here and thank a couple of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at HelloFresh and Honey. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's show, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. When the spring sunshine is calling your name, don't call for takeout. Get HelloFresh instead. Their quick and easy meals make feeding the family and yourself a cinch, and without the high price tag. Their new fast and fresh options questions are ready in just 15 minutes or less. And guys, don't worry about it if you're not exactly a pro in the kitchen. HelloFresh's foolproof recipes arrive pre-portioned and easy to prepare in just a few steps. You guys know Ann and I have been using HelloFresh for a long time now, and we absolutely love it. Both of us being working professionals, it's often difficult for us to find time to make dinner together. But with HelloFresh, it's easy, it's fun, and it's absolutely delicious. So go to HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the code Campea16 for 16 free meals plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/Campea16 using the promo code for 16 free meals plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Today's episode of the John Campea Show is brought to you by Honey, the easy way to save when shopping on your iPhone or computer. Guys, more and more we enjoy shopping online, whether it's on our phones or our computers. And how many times have you gotten to the checkout and seen that promo code box and thought, man, if I only had a promo code, I could save some money? Well, thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. So here's the situation. You're shopping online on one of your favorite sites, and when you go to checkout, the Honey button appears, and all you have to do is click Apply Coupons. Then just wait a few seconds as Honey works its magic and searches for coupons it can find for that site that you're on. And if Honey finds a working coupon, just watch the price drop. Recently, Ann and I were hanging out at home one evening and we decided to order in, and the Honey button appeared. I was able to apply a coupon and I actually saved like $6 or $7. It was that easy to use. And Honey doesn't just work on your desktop computer, it also works on your iPhone. Just activate it on Safari on your phone and save on the go. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this show. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/Campea. That's joinhoney.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at HelloFresh and Honey for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you go and check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, you'll find links and promo codes to all of today's sponsors. And thank you again to HelloFresh and Honey. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to our Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day. If you guys have a question for the show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call it in anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And we got a couple of them today, and one is asking about the differences in the situation between Robert Downey Jr.'s context and Ezra Miller's. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. Actually, I have a question for you guys. This is about Ezra Miller. I know you're getting tired of hearing the name all the time. But do you think later on down the road, people will forget and forgive on what he did? I mean, look at Robert Downey Jr. on what he did, with the drugs, all that sort of stuff. I think later on down the road, people will forgive him on what he did, just like they did with Robert Downey Jr. I don't know. What do you think? And give me your thought.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for calling that in. Hey, guys, by the way, if you're calling in our Mint Mobile number, don't forget to give us your name. We'd like to give you a shout out. Anyway. Yeah, it's funny in the midst of all the Ezra Miller drama that's been going on, and of course, it's been coming more and more to the forefront as we get closer and closer to the release of The Flash, which, by the way, The Flash is great. The movie's great. All the Ezra Miller drama and nonsense and controversy aside, the movie's great. That being said, I've been getting more and more people, and actually I had somebody on one of the open mics I did the other day ask about specifically, Robert Downey Jr.'s career is fine. And a lot of people forget that Robert Downey Jr. was ever in any trouble because it might have been a while ago. But I want to point out that there are a couple of key differences between, and some very important differences that kind of highlight what's going on with Ezra between the Robert Downey Jr. situation and the Ezra Miller situation. First, let's start off by going back to something we talked about yesterday, or it might have been yesterday or a couple of days ago. We'll jump into the classroom here for a moment. Now, this is, again, just a quick summary of what we talked about. This is all the stuff that's been going on with Ezra. All right? The video of choking the girl, getting arrested in Hawaii in charge of disorderly conduct and harassment after they got into a fight with a couple at a karaoke bar. Again arrested in Hawaii of throwing a chair apparently at a woman. Then breaking into a house in Vermont, stealing alcohol, was charged with 3 counts of burglary, petite larceny, and trespassing. 2 of those got dropped because Ezra pled guilty to the trespassing charge. Massachusetts family filed a restraining order against Miller, alleging that that Miller had been grooming their daughter. Another in June of 2022, a mother and a 12-year-old child were granted protective order against Miller when Miller alleged had performed menacing behavior towards the child. That when the child was 11 years old, the actor threatened the mother while brandishing a gun and referring to the child as an elevated being. In June of 2022, Rolling Stone and New York Post reported that Miller was housing a mother and 3 children aged 1 through 5 in a house that was gun and drug filled. A video showed 8 assault guns, some piled up beside children's toys. A report claimed that the 1-year-old in the house was seen with a bullet in her mouth. Children were playing in weed, smoke-filled rooms with no ventilation, and then the song and the dance continued, right? So that was the stuff with Ezra Miller and the current situation with Ezra Miller. Now, if we go over and look at the Robert Downey Jr. situation, there are some similarities, but there are also some key differences. Now, in 96, Downey was arrested for possession of heroin, cocaine, and an unloaded .357 Magnum handgun in a car. Now, wasn't running around with it in his hand. It was just in the car. And when he got arrested in 97, Downey's arrested for trespassing into a neighbor's home while under the influence of a controlled substance. They know he did that because he broke into a house and fell asleep in a bed. So it's one of those things where he was so high and so drunk, he just didn't know what house he was in because he just broke in to go to bed. In 99, Downey is arrested for possession of cocaine and I never pronounced this right.
Methamphetamine?
That's it. The fact that you're able to say that so quickly, Jonathan, makes me wonder.
Jonathan.
I don't know what's going on here. 2000, Downey's arrested for violating his probation and missing drug tests. Then I believe he was even arrested again for skipping out on a court appearance. I believe got sentenced to 3 years in prison. Only had to serve 1, I think. Got fired from several projects, including high profile when he was making a comeback from his earlier drug charges, was starting to make his resurgence, his downascence, if you will, on the hit show Ally McBeal, in which he was terrific.
So good.
And then all of a sudden he disappeared again because they had to fire him because they kept finding him coked out in his trailer. And they had to fire him again and all that kind of stuff. I want to highlight a couple of key differences between all that big, long laundry list that we had with the Ezra Miller situation and the Robert Downey Jr. In all of the things that were listed in the Ezra Miller laundry list, all of them were about Ezra doing things to other people. Every single one of them was about Ezra doing things, threatening, endangering, whatever, other people. All the things on Robert Downey Jr.'s list were self-harm. I'm not saying that makes it okay. Don't misinterpret me. But I think there is a level of severity difference when you're talking about somebody whose behavior is endangering or threatening or harming others versus things you're primarily doing that harming yourself. Not that becoming a drug addicted doesn't affect the people around you. It absolutely does. But there is a bit of a difference there. The second big difference between the Ezra and the Robert Downey Jr. situations is, I think, the more important one. Robert Downey Jr. got held accountable. And Robert Downey Jr. faced consequences from being fired from jobs, from being publicly humiliated, from having to go to jail. Things that Robert Downey Jr. says saved his life and opened a door that he could make one of the best storied, celebrated comebacks of a career ever. And after 2003, when he, when all the crap hit the fan and everything, he said, I am never touching a drug again. He has kept himself clean and sober and has reach heights of success that he never even would have dreamed of before all the problems. And listen, I've been very consistent on our show saying, I hope the same can happen for an Ezra Miller. I hope Ezra Miller can have some kind of redemptive arc after, and only after, facing accountability and consequences, the likes of which Robert Downey Jr. also had, and proportional consequences, because again, Robert Downey Jr. was self-harm mostly, whereas Ezra Miller's stuff was affected up more people and affected other people. But because Robert Downey Jr. stuff was self-harm, and because Robert Downey Jr. faced several consequences, high-profile consequences, career-threatening consequences, all that kind of stuff that ultimately saved his life. I think that is the biggest thing. So listen, if accountability and consequences are brought to bear on Ezra Miller, I believe our caller is correct. I believe years from now, not 10 or 20 years from now, but I'd be 3, 4, 5 years from now, I believe we could see another kind of Robert Downey Jr. story with Ezra Miller. Possibly, potentially. But I don't think any of it exists without the accountability and the consequences. I just don't believe it exists. So that's why I believe there are fundamental differences between the Robert Downey Jr. situation and the Ezra Miller situation. Anyway, Chris, we've been hearing a lot of calls for the comparisons between the two. When you think about the different situations, how do you look at them?
Oh man, I was hanging out with people yesterday and we were talking about this and it was just if I never have to talk about Ezra Miller again,
oh yeah,
I'll be so happy. So for me, we've talked about this. We talked about this week. It is a very apples to orange situation because it is harming yourself versus harming others. I keep thinking about the John Mulaney special that's out right now.
How funny is that special?
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, pretty poignant and dark too. There's
Yeah.
those moments of every time I'm alone, I think I'm with the person who tried to kill me.
Right.
Because that's what drug addiction does. And I always do, and again, this is because of my family's history, I always do have an issue with the equation of if you suffer from mental illness, if you suffer from, addiction issues, you are a violent person by nature. That's not an absolute coherent statement, right? Sometimes those things can go together. Oftentimes they don't. Usually you're just harming yourself, which does end up harming those around you who love you because they care about you, right? It's one of the beautiful things about being able to go to Al-Anon meetings is being able to connect with other people who've been affected by, drug and alcohol abuse. But this situation, what makes it this might not be forgettable, or it might not be something where we allow redemption to win the day, is if these allegations about grooming a young person who is now 18, but at the time of their interactions was not. If grooming a child is something you do not forget if that is true. And all these violent acts too. That's something that you don't forget about, and somebody does need to have their day in court about. That's the stuff that I don't think is completely comparative here, is we have a laundry list of violent crimes. And that's something that still just doesn't sit right with me. Whereas Robert Downey Jr., while trespassing is an absolute horrible thing to do. And as
am I waking up in the morning
Yeah.
and finding a stranger sleeping in your house?
Exactly. And how we can kind of laugh off, oh my gosh, I can't believe he fell asleep in someone else's bed. That'd be terrifying to come home and see somebody else in your home. That's so scary and can feel so violating. But we also have very, very different situations here, too, where Robert Downey Jr. was not throwing chairs at people. That's what I really have an issue with here is just the violence that has been noted time and time again. That's what makes this something that I don't think should be swept under the rug.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about all this as we get closer and closer to the release of Flash? The discussion, the debate, I'm sure will continue. Do you see similarities or massive differences between the scenarios that we had with Robert Downey Jr. and Ezra Miller? Obviously, I've made my case. I think there are some big, stark differences, but maybe that information makes you think the opposite. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on here to another hotline question that we have. And this one has to do with the writer's strike and its impact on the MCU. Check it out.
Hey, John, it's Jonathan from Oklahoma City. The writer's strike got me wondering a few things. How will that affect the future slate of movies, including the Phase 5 and 6 of MCU, the new DCEU? And how will it affect writers and directors like James Gunn, who write and direct a movie like Superman, since they'll probably be doing revisions while they shoot, and just movies in general that have already been written but haven't begun shooting. So just curious to hear your thoughts. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling that in, Jonathan. And first of all, let's start with the second part of your question there, because this is something that actually also came up in one of the open mics we did the other day about how does this impact something like a Superman legacy movie, the writer's strike? Because the studio head, James Gunn, who is also the director of the movie and is also the writer of the movie. How will this writer's strike, because James Gunn, by the way, is a member of the WGA. He's a union member of the Writers Guild of America. So how will this impact something like Superman Legacy? Well, in the case of Superman Legacy, number one, the script is finished. Now, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be more revisions come later and all that kind of stuff. But remember, they don't start shooting this movie. This movie is scheduled to come out until 2025, and they don't start shooting this movie, I believe, until early 2024. So, I mean, there's a long time. I'm sure, I think even the most pessimistic person believes that by January 1st of 2024, this writer strike thing will be finished. So at least, we can hope. So the script is supposedly written, but make no mistake about it. As of today, James Gunn cannot work on that Superman Legacy script anymore. He's a member of the union. The union is on strike. He cannot write another page. Well, I'm sure James could sneak away into his private. I mean, yeah, he could, but James has always been a very vocal supporter of the WGA. He and his union has called for him to cease writing work. He's not going to write another page. Now, again, that's not as dire of a situation as it may sound, because they're a long way off from even starting production on this movie. I have no doubt this dispute will be resolved before that. But that's that movie. What about Marvel? Because right now, Marvel is in midst of developing a lot of projects. From things like, we just found out that the Blade movie is supposed to start shooting at the end of this month. They just hired a new writer. We ain't writing right now. So what does that mean for the production start date for the end of the month? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that they can even start shooting Blade, or maybe they can start shooting with the pages that they have done. And I don't know. They can roll the dice there, and then having to risk stop production halfway through. I mean, I just don't know. But that's not even the biggest problem. Something like that. That's the most immediate problem, something like Blade. But what about all these movies like Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or I don't know, what's some other ones that we got coming up?
Thunderbolts?
What's that?
Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts, which they're still writing. What about all these other movies that they are in heavy development on right now? Guess what? Writers' rooms are now dark and no progress is being made. And here's the thing. If you know anything about the movie business, schedules are life and breath and air. Schedules are so key and important. And we've seen what has happened. When one project gets the slightest bump, all of a sudden we're finding out in a few weeks that an entire studio's other lineups are having to move everything around. Schedules are really tight. And with all the writers' rooms right now having to go dark and no work can be done, if this thing, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. If this thing can be solved in the next week or two, I think everything's fine. But this thing stretches out longer than that, which it very well probably will. This is going to start throwing a lot of schedules out of whack. And it's going to start delaying a lot of things. And you're going to see release dates having to get moved because, well, we can't even plan starting shooting because we don't even have finished scripts at this point. And by the way, the same is true for DC. Hey, it's all well and good that Superman Legacy script is written. That's your chapter 1 of this brand new DC universe. So that thing had to get finished first. But they got a number of other projects that they've already announced that they probably had active writers working on stuff. And now those rooms are dark too. So it ain't just Marvel that's going to be impacted. And by the way, it's not just the genre of comic book movies. This is playing out across every studio across the business right now. But if we're going to ask and talk specifically about Marvel, yeah, this is affecting Marvel maybe more immediately than anybody else because they're supposed to be shooting this Blade movie. Anyway, Chris, we're now moving from the theoretical problems of the writer strike to now the practical. We're literally now seeing work not being done. We're talking about a movie in Blade that's supposed to start shooting here soon that may or may not actually start shooting, depending on how much is done before they brought in this new writer who can't write right now. How big of an impact do you see this maybe having? Short term, long term? What do you think?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the original strike that we all dealt with, right, in 2007 lasted for 3 months.
Yeah.
It put a big dent in the entertainment industry. Maybe you all remember a little film called Quantum of Solace, right?
Oh, yeah.
Something that was in production when the strike happened. It's probably my least favorite of the Daniel Craig Bond films. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Maybe not. But
I do. Yeah, I agree.
on that set, they could not have a writer. Now, some of you might be asking, well, of course not. There's scripts already written. What about punch-ups? What about changes? You know who did those punch-ups? Daniel Craig, who's a great actor, but maybe shouldn't be writing for Bond. So when you have things in production for Marvel too, like Daredevil Born Again, like Wonder Man, no one is on set making those adjustments. No one can, except for the actors who are still filming at the time. Maybe some of the other people on there. And maybe we might get some really great moments too, right? A lot of times actors improvise lines and we go, oh my gosh, that's even better what we had on the page. Let's go with that. But when you realize certain things aren't working, there's not as much cohesion to your story, there's certain relationships that just aren't firing on all cylinders, that's when you need a writer. Not just before you even get to set, but while you're there to make sure everything is going smoothly.
Well, I mean, to your point, the Russo brothers talked about when Infinity War and Endgame were shooting, it was McFeely and I forget the name of the other writer, but they always had their writers on set. They were there just in case, right? Like they had completed scripts, but just in case they had them there for when changes had made, if they wanted to deviate or make a change or all that kind of stuff. But yeah, even the stuff that's in production, it could have an impact.
Yeah, so the things that are being made currently, not just the next phase of things, not just those pre-production things, we are going to see this trickle throughout. So the ramifications of this strike are pretty monumental to the industry.
All right, guys, question is for you. How scary is this if you're a fan of the genre? That while we may not, listen, if they can settle this thing quickly, it may all be smooth. But every day that passes, we're talking about big projects that a lot of us are excited about and looking forward to are going to get impacted more and more and more. How big of a deal do you see it as? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our final topic here today. And I thought we'd end things off with this. You know, it is May the 4th. It is the unofficial Star Wars Day. And I thought it would be fun. I had a few people actually write to me who said, this is what gave me the idea. I had a couple people write to me and say, hey, John, May the 4th, you should rank your Star Wars movies and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, you know what? That's what we're going to do. So guys, congratulations and you're welcome. I'm about to give you the official ironclad, totally true,
no bias,
immutable and indisputable rankings of the 12 major Star Wars theatrical films.
This is honestly a major feat because you do not like to do rankings.
I don't like to do lists.
Yeah.
But I mean, I especially don't like to do lists when being asked a question, right?
And
like,
on the spot.
I don't mind if you say, hey, I've got some time, I can formulate my thoughts, because after all, if it's going to come from me, it's the de facto definitive list.
It's not an opinion, it's scripture.
It's scripture.
Oh my gosh.
Lucasfilm right now at their offices.
I just want to make sure that the next few days for you, Ray, are real rough.
At Lucasfilm right now, I was courteous enough to give Lucasfilm a heads up that I was putting this list together for them.
Oh my gosh, what a mensch.
Right now, the entire staff at Lucasfilm was gathered around a TV watching this live stream,
KK?
so they themselves can know what the official list is. So here you go, guys. The absolute, not subjective, purely objective, 100% written in the stars fact. Your list. All right, we're going to start at number 12 here. And at number 12, at the very bottom, Clone Wars. That movie sucked so bad. Even the TV show Clone War fans will go, okay, Clone Wars is great, Clone Wars is great. I'm talking about the movie. Oh, yeah. Well, there's that.
We just pretend like it doesn't exist and we watch the series.
I mean, how can a movie with Jabba's cousin who talks like this, how can that not be considered an all-time classic?
Now,
I don't
Joe.
understand. It is so bad. It is so bad. So at number 12, we're going to go at Clone Wars. All right. Staying on the theme of clones, at number 11, we're going to go Attack of the Clones. Even defenders of the prequels, much like defenders of Clone Wars, the series, will say, oh, yeah. Even defenders of the prequels will go, they say, well, the prequels aren't that bad, John. Attack of the Clones. Okay, yeah, there's that. Like even people who defend the prequels will go, oh, yeah, Attack of the Clones. That one was pretty rough.
Gets everywhere.
It just gets everywhere. All right. Coming in next, we've got Oh, I put that in the wrong order, to be honest with you.
This is why we don't do
no.
top.
The
12s.
This is why I had to look at this. I had to look at the
No.
list. All right. Next up is going to be, yeah, I'm going to do this. The Rise of Skywalker. I am, much like I just said, the defenders of the prequel trilogy will go, yeah, that one was really bad. I, who am somewhat a defender of the sequel trilogy, even I got to go, oh my God, the Rise of Skywalker was so bad. I mean, maybe not as bad as Attack of the Clones or Clone Wars, but Rise of Skywalker is truly a horrendous pile of dog shit. It's an absolutely terrible movie. All right, let's move on. Let's keep climbing up the list here. Revenge of the Sith comes in at number 9. I think it is probably. Oh, sorry, I wrote that out of order. I'm sorry. Revenge of the Sith is actually number 8. So let me fix that for
Let's
you. I
strike
just got
that
my
from
thing
the
wrong. There we go.
order there.
It's okay. We'll fix it in post.
The
Yeah.
Phantom Menace is the number 9. Phantom Menace. It's a movie that I drove 2,000 miles so I could go to my favorite movie theater to watch the debut of a new Star Wars movie. And my first viewing, I loved it. Woo, I loved it. And then I saw my second viewing. I'm like, oh, it wasn't as good as the first time, but it was still great. And then my third time I watched it, I'm like, well, no, it's still good. And then I saw it the fourth time. I'm like, well, this isn't actually a very good. And then I saw it 17 times in theaters.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
He had to be sure.
17 times in theaters, partially because at the time I was also working at a visual effects company. And we would go at least twice every week in the afternoons to go see this visual effect, the greatest achievement, the greatest jump forward in visual effects history. To me was the Phantom Menace. And we would go twice a week, but every single time I watch it, I'm like, oh no, this is so bad. And then we move on to number 8, which is Revenge of the Sith. To me, what I came to believe is the least offensive of the prequel films. I mean, yes, sand and no, and but I have the high ground. How the fuck does that make any sense?
Anakin, you're breaking my heart.
You're breaking my heart.
You guys are being mean.
That movie's so fucking bad. But
Defend it.
you know what? I remember I did a rewatch of Revenge of the Sith years ago with me, Schnepp, Harloff, a couple other guys, Dennis. And you know what? I think this is the least bad of the thing. There's definitely some really cool things in it. And so it gets number 8 on my list. All right. Number 7, we go The Last Jedi. There are things about The Last Jedi that I quite like. And actually the thing that a lot of people complain about in The Last Jedi, the handling of Luke, I still contend, and I will debate, and I will win this debate every time. If you don't think that was Luke from the original Star Wars movies, I don't know that you watched the original Star Wars movies.
I agree with that.
The characterization is, man, now he didn't do the things I wanted him to do in The Last Jedi, but personality, character trait wise, this is exactly the same. This is the Luke Skywalker from the original trilogy. And even though it was completely the opposite of what I wanted to see Luke do, I actually ended up quite liking the approach they took with Luke. That being said, it is also a movie that had that damn casino planet. And that was a big chunk of the movie. And that whole thing was pointless and useless and dumb, as well as a number of other things. But
and then the whole time the ship's just getting bombarded. Slowly getting bombarded.
You know what it was?
Slowly getting bombarded.
That is the slowest chase scene since the Vespa gang.
And they kept cutting to it. And then it was they finally lost. So it's dude.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I at the end of the day, I personally still think that the good of The Last Jedi outweigh the bad of The Last Jedi, but I do rank it as low down at number 7. All right. So number 6, Solo, A Star Wars Story. Again, this was a movie that ended up being way better than it deserved to be. I still consider it to be a fun space adventure movie. Did it really feel like a Star Wars film? I agree with the criticism that maybe it didn't really feel a lot like a Star Wars film, but it was still a fun, good time at the movies. I really enjoyed Solo, enough so that it makes number 6 on my list. All right. At number 5, we get to The Force Awakens. This was a movie that, unlike The Phantom Menace, is a movie I ended up enjoying more and more every time we saw it. Me and Schnepp used to run across the street, because this is back in the AMC days. Me and Schnepp would run across the street, because our office and our studio is across the street from the AMC Burbank 16. Me and Schnepp, at least a couple times a week, we had our AMC pass, because we worked for AMC. We just run across the street at lunch when we had some time between shooting Movie Talk and any other shows we were shooting in the afternoon, and we'd just go over and watch Star Wars The Force Awakens. And we liked it more and more every time we saw it. Again, never as good as the original trilogy, granted, but we really quite enjoyed it, even with some of the weaknesses it had. At number 4, Rogue One. This is a movie that, to me, is kind of like The Force Awakens as well. It gets better to me every time I watch it. And it's funny because I remember when Rogue One first came out, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, loved the second half of the film, but the first half is a little slow. And I was kind of the opposite. I mean, I did love the second half of the movie. I did. Absolutely. The assault on Scarif and all that kind of stuff. It's fabulous. Fantastic. I actually like the first part of the movie more. The foundational stuff that they did, the lore building that they did. I love the first half of Rogue One even more than I like the second half of Rogue One. And so, yeah, Rogue One for me comes in at number 4. At number 3, A New Hope, or what most people would just refer to as Star Wars, right? The original Star Wars movie. The first movie my mom ever took me to when I was a child. Earliest childhood memory I have. I don't have a single other memory until years later when my aunt Leonora took me to go see Empire Strikes Back. That's the next childhood memory I have. But I remember in these faint pictures in my head of my mom taking me to a movie theater and watching Star Wars. So that's the movie to me. All right, at number 2, what many people will consider to be number 1, Empire Strikes Back. Just a masterpiece of a film. It was the movie that I think for a lot of people, it changed the perception of a lot of people at that time from Star Wars being this global hit to this is actually incredible filmmaking. And they should have realized that with the first movie too, but Empire Strikes Back, for a long time, hey, listen, to this day, a lot of people consider it to be the greatest sequel of all time. I mean, right up there, at least with the discussions of The Godfather Part 2. And some of the most memorable moments in the history of Star Wars, which is why a lot of people will put Empire at number 1. And I get it. Listen, to me, this is 1A and 1B. But obviously that only leaves one last movie, The Return of the Jedi. There's only one return, and it ain't of the king. It's of the Jedi. It's.
I have so many issues with what you just said.
There's only one return.
No.
And it ain't of the king. It's of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Greatest Star Wars movie of all time. I mean, a lot of people put it at number 2 or number 3, but for me, it just is. First of all, to this day, the single greatest space battle scene in the history of cinema. The space battle scene up above the moon of Endor around the second Death Star, to me, is still, with all the visual effects advances and everything, it is still the greatest space battle scene ever. And the single greatest scene in Star Wars history here, the entire sequence and scene of Luke, Vader in the Emperor's throne room, to me is the greatest drama in Star Wars ever. That whole prolonged sequence thing is the greatest thing ever. I just love that so much. George Lucas's juxtaposition of the world of technology versus the natural world, embodied with the Ewoks. Now, I've done a lot of editorials and breakdown on the Ewoks about how they are actually the most vicious killers of all time. But I love George's juxtaposition there of the natural world versus the industrialized world that he played up there. Everything with Jabba and all that kind of stuff, to me, is why, again, it's all very close with the original trilogy. To me, it's 1A and 1B. They're all super, super, super close. These can be in any order that you want. But that's why, to me, Jedi is the best Star Wars movie of all time. So again, just to highlight, at number 12, Clone Wars. At number 11, Attack of the Clones. At number 10, Rise of Skywalker. At number 9, The Phantom Menace. At number 8, Revenge of the Sith. At number 7, The Last Jedi. At number 6, Solo. At number 5, The Force Awakens. At number 4, Rogue One. At number 3, obviously the trilogy is right at the top. A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I have ended the debate. The globe around, everybody around the world now can come together and agree that this is the list. Well, it's my list. Anyway, Chris, on this May the 4th,
Yes.
how does your organizing of the list look different from mine?
I mean, obviously, the holiday special is number 1. Where is that on your
That was
list?
not a theatrical release. Not a theatrical release.
Fair point. I would switch around your top 3 because I'm an Empire girl. That's number 1 for
I
me.
think a lot of people are. Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to lose a lot of you, and that's fine because this is all subjective. I would push Rogue One behind Last Jedi personally because I was not a Rogue One fan.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really enjoy it, although I'm very excited to go back and watch it now that I've seen Andor. Because I do think that's going to change the way I feel about this just because I didn't feel like a lot of the characters were developed. I felt like some things were rushed. So I'm really interested to watch it with that in mind. And, I keep going back to the prequels and I watch them every May the 4th. I don't know why we do this to ourselves, but I'm trying to come back to them with a lot of grace because I had so much fun at those movies as a kid. My brother was 5. I was 11 when I saw Phantom Menace. And it was the first time I think we saw Star Wars on a big screen. Because I don't know if the re-releases came before or after that.
They came before.
They came
the
before?
re-releases were in
Okay.
the 90s.
But it was really, really cool. Because this was 99, right? Phantom Menace?
Yeah, but the re-releases were like 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I probably saw Star Wars then. But it was just really cool to experience Star Wars for the first time with my dad and experience them like completely new with somebody who had made me watch these movies over and over again. And was like, you will like this in this family. We are Star Wars people. Watch this right now, Christine. So as terrible as those movies are in retrospect and like me giving you shit for seeing it 17 times in theaters, I remember as a kid being filled with so much awe and wonder. And I try to kind of extend that same grace to the sequel trilogy too, of these kids who get to see this for the first time and are like, holy shit, Star Wars is amazing. Maybe later on, 15 years from now, they're going to look at Rise of Skywalker and go, so not so much. Not so much. But it's a pretty decent list. I'll give you that. Just a few switcheroos for me.
What would you say? I do want to know specifically, though. Let's get into what do you think is the worst Star Wars theatrically released film that they've done? Like, I've got the Clone Wars behind Attack of the Clones. I think some people might switch that up, but what would you say would be the most egregious one?
Clone Wars is really bad. It's really, really bad.
What about non-animated, though?
Then it would be Attack.
Oh, yeah. Then it's got to be Attack of the Clones,
Yeah.
right?
Which, and again, those prequels, what I will give them is the fight sequences were fantastic. One of the things we started doing is we just kind of fast forward.
That's
when
what
we
I do.
watch them.
I just cut to the fight scenes.
Exactly, because they're really well done.
Oddly enough, I did that with Obi-Wan, too.
Yep.
By the way, some people have heard this Star Wars story before, but this is how important Star Wars is in my life. Okay? This is how important it is. Many of you guys know I'm married. I am married to Ray's sister. The soon-to-be Dr. Ann Campea.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yep. She currently possesses 4 degrees. She is in the midst of her doctoral program now. She's about to become Dr. Campea. Actually, a fan of hers made this collage image of her. This is my wife.
Is she
Already, you
flipping?
get to look at it again.
Is she flipping the bird up there?
She is, as a matter of fact. Dr. Campea, that's my wife. Now, I want you to keep that in mind when I tell you this story. This is how important Star Wars is to me. It is this woman that about 3 months into our relationship, maybe 4 months into our relationship, when we were starting to realize, hey, this could be serious. We really dig each other. That in a conversation, it came up that she said to me, this woman said, oh, I've never seen Star Wars. And I was like, to this one, this is how important Star Wars is to me. I said, okay, all right. Like after I caught my breath. I'm all right. I said, look, this is great, but this is now on hold because we need to sit down and watch Star Wars together. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that your response to this trilogy is going to determine what the future of this relationship is. And that's how important Star Wars was to me. Thank God for me that she ended up loving Star Wars, and now she's a huge Star Wars fanatic, because my life, I probably would have ruined my own life if she had, but that's how important Star Wars is to me. Hey, Ray, let me ask you.
Hell no.
What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
I like The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
I'm into because here's the thing. Like, I'm into the newer stuff. I don't think I completely finished the original trilogy. Like, fully. Like, I've watched pieces of it. It's just I started late. Like, I'm into sci-fi now. Like, back in the day when you guys were watching these things, I was watching Action Jackson. I was watching I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. I was watching The Last Dragon. Those movies, when those were on TV, I skipped the Star Wars movies and watched those movies.
All right, so Ray, here's the thing.
Rambo, Commando, all those were like my thing. But now I recently got into sci-fi, and now these are coming. So I hope I come back to the trilogy and watch them fully, give them the respect they deserve, like I did with Godfather. Hopefully I'll change mine. But as for now, it's Force Awakens.
All right, so for the second time, I'm going to have the speech with an aura. So whatever this working relationship is that we have, and how good it is. No.
But wait. She did say she thinks Dune is better than Star Wars, right?
Yeah, she likes Dune even better. Sorry, it's her second. That's fine.
Okay. That's okay.
Fine. I don't need it to be her favorite movie of all time.
She just had to watch them.
She just had to watch them and hopefully like them.
What if she hated them?
Then it would have ruined my life.
Yeah.
Because I would have said, I don't think this is going to work.
Wow.
Not knowing at the time that I would never possibly do better.
And then I would be answering Anne's phone going, stop crying, man. She doesn't want you back, bro.
Get over it. Now, listen, actually, I don't know if you could tell, but one of the first things I knew about our friends Jen and Alex, and Jen's back there right now, they are, Jen and Alex are complete Star Wars fanatics.
She just dresses like that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys don't know, but this is how she walks into the thing every day. And which is one of the reasons why Ann and I and Jen and Alex get along so well. But if you had to say, Jen, favorite Star Wars movie, what would you say is your favorite and what would Alex say is his?
His is A New Hope, I believe.
The original?
Yeah. And mine is Return of the Jedi.
Oh, there you go. I knew I liked you more. So
Every guy, don't bring him around.
Jen, do you want to scroll over to this seat?
Anyway, guys, question is for you. How would you, obviously, I'm being facetious. It's all subjective. You can have them in whatever order you want. The important thing is that we're Star Wars fans. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. Question is for you. What order would you put all the major theatrically released Star Wars films that have been out there so far? Remember, don't include the holiday specials, the Ewoks, the Droids cartoon show, or even Mandalorian. But the movies, how would you rank them yourself?
Mine's Wrath of Khan,
What's that?
one. Mine's Wrath of Khan is number one.
Do you remember when Aaron just about broke my brain?
It was one of my favorite moments of this show.
How did she say it?
It was something about her being like, is that the one with Spock?
Or
No.
Something
Aren't
like
they
that.
the same thing?
Oh yeah, I said no. I said like no. That's Star Trek. We're talking about Star Wars, and she goes, "Aren't those the same thing?" I nearly died.
It was amazing.
I nearly died.
She pranked you, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And I nearly broke my brain.
Because Tom, I think, is somehow an even bigger nerd than anyone in this room.
Yeah, her husband Tom's a huge Star Wars fan.
Star Wars nerd.
All right, so guys, write your thoughts down below. Okay, guys, we are now going to move on and start taking your live questions here on this show. We've already got the tip questions that you guys sent in. Remember, if you guys have a question for tomorrow's show, you can send it in anytime you want by going to our tip link at streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. But we've got those all lined up now. But if you're watching live and you'd like to get into a question, sorry, Jonathan, you've turned off the super chats, haven't you?
Those are off now.
Okay, sorry. You can't send them in now, too late. But we've gathered them all up. We've gathered them all up, and we will address those once we take a moment and thank another sponsor of today's show, Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for being my mobile service phone provider and for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions. We're going to start things off here with the people who sent into our tip link. So, Chris, what do we got?
From Suthius, I love the Back to the Future trilogy, but one thing that always bugged me was how Biff became pretty much a servant to House McFly. I understand George got the courage to knock him out, but I wish they had become business partners or something instead.
That would have made no sense at all. I don't know why.
Hey, I know you tried to rape my girlfriend once, but let's get into business
we're all
together.
buddy now. Yeah, no.
I mean, it's also weird that he still works at their home after that incident of like, no, you should not be around him at all.
Well, that would be the sweetest revenge, though, wouldn't it?
I mean, I suppose.
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. If I'm Mrs.
business
McFly,
partner,
I'm going to be like, get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, I don't see how that ever would have made sense personally. But all right, what's next?
From Jordan Kleinhen. Could the writer's strike affect larger YouTube channels that are more scripted content requires writers? Not if they're not unionized.
Yeah, if they're not WGA. Remember, the strike only affects those who are WGA. And I'm sure there's probably a good... Listen, I'm sure there are some YouTube larger scripted kind of digital series things that are WGA writers, but anyone that does not, and I think a lot of them don't, won't be affected by that. But if it's one that has writers that are in the Writers Guild, then yeah, that'll probably affect it. All right, what's next?
Real quick, I just want to shout out Marl Jehovah, who's just gifting a bunch of memberships. So thank you so much. That's really sweet
thank
of
you, man. That's incredibly generous. And we just had our most recent members town hall meeting yesterday. So thank you for that, man, very much.
Excellent. From Vince, who's a good Canadian kid. As a Quebecer, I feel so proud seeing how spectacular Dune 2 looks. That movie is directed by a guy from a small French-speaking town up here in the north. Wow. It makes me feel like everything is possible with a vision and a lot of work.
You know, it's true in the movies, TV shows, sports, whatever, we tend to get behind and get more emotionally invested when we're being represented or where we're from is being represented on screen, right? Like I know I get excited when I watch UFC and, you know, there's only like 2 Italian UFC fighters I can never even recall. But whenever an Italian UFC fighter goes in, I feel like, yeah. Or whenever a Canadian UFC fighter goes in there, I think, yeah. But yeah, when you're watching a movie and it's being done by, I mean, for me, Denis Villeneuve, a good Canadian kid, but for you, it's even closer to home because he's from Quebec. He's Quebecois. So
I did quite the opposite, and I learned my lesson real quick.
You don't like Filipinos?
No. When
my God,
I've been a boxing fan for a long time. So when Manny Pacquiao first came on the scene, I was like, just because he's Filipino, I'm not going to just automatically chip. That was my mindset, right? Because he was going up against Eric Morales, the first fight, and I really liked Eric Morales. My aunt and everyone came over. I had to watch the fight outside.
They
wouldn't let me inside the house. Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what.
But here,
when I started hanging around your family, that's when I found out, like anything that, like as soon as Manny comes up, it was like, it's like even around your extended, like with the Tito and Titas and all that kind of stuff. It's like Manny comes up. Oh, Manny. It's like, oh, wow, that was a big deal for a lot of people. But it works in our movies as well. All right, what's next?
I just got that for small town people like who I grew up with. I saw my friend Carlos Pratt's on Fatal Attraction, the series, the other day, and was like, what? Carlos Pratt.
By the way, is that show any good?
Are you watching
it? It's quite good, actually.
Okay, I might check it out.
I really like Lizzie Kaplan.
I love her. That's why I'm thinking about watching
wonderful. Oh, my goodness. From Rift. Polite Society was such unexpected fun. Definite Ms. Marvel vibes, and not just saying because they have the same actress playing a villain in both. Actually, if Marvel has future solo plans for Ms. Marvel, wouldn't be surprised if they get this writer and director.
I am not familiar with this.
So Polite Society, they had some posters around CinemaCon,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I saw a little bit of
remember that one.
footage. It looks really, really cool. It's like this kind of Bollywood superhero-y kind of thing. That looks really, really fascinating. The gal from Umbrella Academy is in it.
Oh,
the one who
right,
has
okay.
like
Yes,
all the
yes, yes,
powers.
yes, yes. Yeah.
This looks really, really cool. I'm very excited to learn more about it and go see it.
All right, what's next?
From Luke1234, Hulu's Prey was very well received with Amber Midthunder, awesome last name, hinting at a sequel. But I haven't heard anything on a sequel to Hulu's Hellraiser. I thought it was a solid installment in the franchise. So have you heard anything?
It was a solid installment, actually. It was actually pretty good. The problem was this. Nowhere near as many people talked about it as they did with Prey. Like Prey came out and it just struck a chord and everybody started talking about it. And it's wonderful. I think it's easily the best Predator movie since the original.
Oh, heck yeah.
Maybe in the first one that I truly liked since the original. I'm not a fan of the second one. I know the second one has its fans, but you just never got that from the Hellraiser one, even though the Hellraiser one was pretty good. I liked it, but no one nearly talked about it nearly as much as I didn't have remotely the same cultural impact that Prey did. And that's probably why we haven't heard anybody talk about a sequel. All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth, had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with Guardians IMAX Marathon. Volume 2 is still my favorite of the three personally. Oh, interesting. But getting to see Volume 1 on the big screen was awesome. Chris, hi. You should probably bring the Rocket plush with you because, man, does Volume 3 hit you in the feels. Oh, no. Oh, no. This was from Ray, you guys. Sometimes he's really nice to me. Sometimes.
Did Ray buy you that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ray never gets me shit.
Ray
No.
does this really sweet thing.
Come
I think
on.
that's a really beautiful
Hey,
thing about you.
Hey. Don't you ever say that.
Actually, in fairness, you know what I had on today, and I was about to walk out the door, but Ann grabbed me and said, "You should probably wear something Star Wars today." Because I'm like, "All right." I was wearing. Ray got me this great Yellowstone shirt, and
You finally wore it.
yeah. And so
Almost.
since we were talking about Yellowstone on the show today, I grabbed the Yellowstone shirt. I was going to wear it. Then Ann reminded me. So,
Yeah.
And Ray came over the other night and like barbecued a hell of a meal. Like a hell of a meal.
And Chris, the only reason I got you that Rocket is because I know how much you love Rocket as much as I do.
But I think that's a really sweet thing about you. When you see something that reminds like us, like you of us, you get us the thing.
He does.
It's really cute. He got us all these really sweet tiki mugs that are part of our fandom.
Yeah.
So
Ray's just so freaking thoughtful, you guys.
I'm Santa Claus. Filipino Santa Claus.
You are Filipino Santa
Claus. Santa Claus. Claus. I'm Santa Claus.
Okay.
Sorry.
What's next?
Now we're going to switch over to
super
supers.
chats now. Okay.
All right.
From CJ Rebirth. One of the best things last night. No AMC Nicole ad. Ooh.
Oh, that's right. When I went to go see an advanced screening of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it was so nice not seeing the Nicole Kidman ad.
Is that becoming a thing where people mention when they don't see it? It's like
just
a
so good
national
not to have
holiday
it.
for everybody.
It's like whenever you go to work, the first thing they do is kick you in the balls. So the first time you go to work and they don't kick you in the balls, it's a really great day. But by the way, did you hear they're starting production on the second Nicole Kidman AMC ad?
Yeah.
Finally, at least we get some variation.
Yep. The next big
Her
prequel.
watching
Well, now they're going to
Creed
run
1,
both.
Her watching Creed 1 kind of bothers me. That she's in that theater. And
Now
it's been
that Creed
long
2 is
ago.
out.
Yeah. Creed 3 is
They're going to
out.
run them back to back now, though.
Some insider info. They are definitely looking to replace parts of that too, because I have auditioned to read for the new AMC spots.
Really?
Yeah,
So there's going to be more than just Nicole in these spots.
Yeah, because there was the issue too of like messaging my agent of am I supposed to try to sound like Nicole Kidman? I just need to know some things if I have to be Australian today.
that.
The funniest thing about the Nicole Kidman ads, besides the fact that you're advertising a movie theater that you're already sitting in, was the fact that AMC theaters, where we come together to laugh and cry, your theater's empty. You're sitting in that movie theater all by yourself. The message of AMC, dear God, please come, because nobody's coming to AMC. We come together to laugh, to cry. Meanwhile, she's all by herself.
I know. And
She
the
gets her own
security guards
theater.
are probably holding off all the fans outside the theater.
All right, what's next?
From Crank That Soldier Boy. Was that the whitest I've ever been in my whole life?
Crank that soldier boy.
Crank That Soldier Boy.
Does anyone still crank that soldier boy?
I don't know.
I thought you were talking about the character from The Boys. Then okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
Went to the Guardians triple feature, and boy, that Yondu death still hits hard with fathers and sons playing, but it's nothing compared to tears I had in Volume 3. Oh, I cry so much.
it is so. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is my least favorite of the Guardians movies. I like it. It's just my least favorite. But man, Yondu's death scene it's so great because things are revealed in the death scene. You know what I mean? Like there's emotional levels that are revealed in that death scene. And it's part of the reason why I love the beginning of the Guardians holiday special so much. And the whole animated part of the Guardians special so much. Yondu is such a great character.
Also, I want to add that the Guardians 3 trailers have already got me. Like, it already looks like it's like a goodbye, like for this set of crew, right? I mean,
which James Gunn announced like a year ago.
Yeah, it feels that way. So the tears are already locked and loaded.
Yep,
So,
ready to go. All right, what's next?
From Jaden Voss. Hey guys, in my opinion, for James Gunn's DCU, I think Taron Egerton would be Superman, Jesse Spence as Batman, Noah Schnapp as Robin, and Lily Collins as Wonder Woman. I'd like you, John Ray, and Chris's opinion on my opinion.
No.
I don't
like
like
Glenn
Lily
Powell,
Collins for Wonder Woman.
And Taron Egerton is Superman?
I like Glenn Powell. Like, ever since someone said it here, I was like,
I mean, I love Glenn Powell.
he has a Superman smile.
I'd love him for Green Lantern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking more about.
Sorry. Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Never mind. I mixed
But
up.
the bottom line for me is this: it doesn't matter who you cast. Like, all I care about is because, again, you don't know what kind of that character they're going for in the movie. Mm-hmm. So since you don't know what kind of that character they're going for, you have no idea if the person you're picking is even a remotely good fit, right? So that's why when Christopher Nolan announced that Heath Ledger was going to be Joker, everybody was like, Brokeback Mountain boy. Like that, because we didn't know the kind of Joker that Christopher Nolan was going to do, because Christopher Nolan's Joker was very different from Tim Burton's Joker, which was very different from any other Joker we've had. So just because you have an idea about what the characters would be like in the movie, they could make it totally different. So all I ever care about when they're getting ready to cast a movie is, did they cast a really talented performer? Yeah. That's all I care about, because everything else can be adjusted for and compensated for. Obviously there's exceptions, right? You're not gonna, you're not gonna go out and cast who's the girl that sings the Frozen stuff? Adele Dazeem.
Idina Menzel.
Yeah, sorry, I was doing
the John Travolta.
But you're not going to go out and cast her to play Aretha Franklin, right? Like obviously there's a hyperbole there, yes. But other than the extreme stuff for fit, just as long as you get a talented actor, nothing else to me matters. Yeah. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
From Jeremiah S. I feel the Superman reboot will fail unless they focus on Clark's desire for an ordinary life. Superman is what he can do, not who he is. Focus on his struggles to fit in as a god among humans.
I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that's remotely true. Sorry, there are parts of what you said is true, but this thing is, this movie will fail unless you do this. I don't agree with that at all. I think there are 1,000 things they can do to make it really successful. As a matter of fact, you go back to Superman Returns. Superman Returns really did focus on Superman trying to figure out his place in the world. It was him trying to figure out and fit in, and how can he be a part of when he's so separate from the rest of humanity. But that movie did not work the way a lot of people wanted it to work.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good movie that wasn't a very good comic book movie. Other people aren't so kind. So that, what you're describing could absolutely work, but to think that that's the only way it could work, I disagree with that. I think there are 100 different things they could do.
I think we've seen a really successful look at kind of this concept to an extent with Superman and Lois, of the idea of constantly having to monitor how you interact with people because you are so strong, and how even with all this strength and all these powers, so many things are still outside of your control. Simple human kind of things. I think those can be notes in this, right? You can add those flavors to the soup, but I don't think it's the whole recipe.
Right. All right. What's next?
From Bill's HQ.
Y'all making soup over here?
With Lord Gator. Bill's HQ. Leaving for LA tomorrow from Buffalo.
Oh, nice.
Seeing Guardians at the Chinese Theater and then seeing King Campea a few days later.
Yeah, Bill's HQ.
What a time to be alive.
That's right. Bill's is actually flying all the way out from Buffalo to come to the live event.
That's awesome.
And it's great. You know what? It's really, really fun that you get to watch Guardians 3 at the Chinese Theater. You know, a lot of times when people offer, I'm going to visit LA, what should I do? And I'm like, if you're a movie fan, couple things. You want to see you want to do the touristy thing, see the Hollywood sign, see the Walk of Fame. Yeah. But you want to see if you can go to a movie to the Chinese. Because even though it's renovated, that is the theater. It's the most famous movie theater in the world.
Star Wars.
It is the theater where Star Wars had its world premiere.
Man, there's pictures of that thing. That thing was crowded.
Oh,
Every time I look up the
was-
Star Wars premiere,
They'd never seen anything like it before. I still remember when I was at the Force Awakens premiere, I was in the Chinese theater at the Force, and just like for the 20 minutes before they started the movie, besides the fact that I'm trying to get over the fact that George Lucas is sitting over there and Steven Spielberg was sitting right with him, and that person's there and that person's, I was just like, I'm in the room where however many years previous, 40 whatever years previous, the premiere of Star Wars happened here, and I'm sitting in that room
was
right
George
now.
Lucas at that premiere?
Yeah, he was.
He was. He was sitting in the
Him
crowd
and Steven
within the
Spielberg were
crowd?
sitting there
Nice.
together. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, the fact that you get to go to any movie, if you come to LA, you got to try to go to a movie at the Chinese. It's just a great experience.
I gotta say something to Bill's HQ. Don't be a thing with the weather that's going on, because it's gonna be weird. He's gonna be here. It's gonna be raining, and then on the weekend
it's
it's
raining
supposed to be
and cold
sunny
right now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be sunny. So
That's California, baby.
yeah. But safe travels, Bill's HQ. Can't wait to see you.
All
Also,
right, what's
Bill's
next?
HQ, if you want to see the Hollywood sign, go hike the LA Reservoir instead of those other hikes. You're going to get a much better view. It's really, really pretty. And
Or
there's a lot
don't
less
hike,
people.
just go to the Hollywood Highlands Center and stand at the observation
Yeah,
deck.
you can go
and
stand at
look
the
it.
observation deck too. But also get out of Hollywood as quickly as possible. Ugh.
All right, what's
Unless
next?
you want free CDs. I don't know. From the Inedible Hulk.
They're not free.
They're not. It takes up so much of your time. I get box office is important, but not as a main topic every 2 days to say, look, it made 5 million more over and over each movie.
Oh.
Ooh.
Then I'm sorry, then you don't understand movies and how it works. And fan the box office and how they succeed and how they work and what works for the audience. Listen, box office, every dollar of the box office is not money. It's an audience member. Every dollar at the box office is not monetary. It's an audience member. And it reflects who we are as an audience, what we are choosing to go see, what we aren't choosing to go see, what are motivating us to get excited, what is not getting us excited, what's getting us to bring other people with us, what is not. And at the heart and the core of it, nothing is more important as a movie fan than those things. Nothing is more important than those things. So listen, I'm going to tell you, look, I like doing a purge once in a while. If you don't like hearing about box office, don't watch my show. Like, honestly, because I am going to continue to talk about box office, because every dollar is a representative of an individual movie fan who decided to take time out of their day, set aside an evening to go to a movie theater and go watch a movie, and what motivated them to do that. And if you don't get that, I don't know how to describe it to you.
It's
And
also
if
what
you-
people are talking about.
Yeah, and if you don't like hearing about it, then I'm not saying I don't like you. I'm saying you're not going to like watching my show. And I am okay with that, because this is important stuff to me as a movie fan. And I think the information that's in there. So yeah, if you don't like hearing about box office, then don't watch my show, because you're not going to like watching it. 'Cause I'm going to talk a lot about box office.
When we play those games, I hate box office. I always get them wrong. You
win more than
Yeah, you
half of
still
the
end up winning anyway.
I've been
So
so dry. I feel like
What the
Tatooine.
most?
I'm Tatooine right now, baby. I haven't won in a couple years.
So much sand.
Feels like.
All right, what's
Jonathan
next?
There we go. From La Ligue des Nakamas. I'm so sorry, I butchered that, I'm sure. Hi, John. You said the other day that Superman Legacy didn't have to be the best Supes movie of all time to be considered a success, but I don't agree with that. Yes, it doesn't have to be considered the best movie or comic book movie of all time.
Oh, did this just...
oh, no.
Every once in a while, this thing jumps to the top. One moment. So, no.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
You're too far down.
We are
this thing
super
jumps
chat.
sometimes
Wonder
and it's
where
like
it went.
goes all the way to the top. There we go.
Bum. 2. Okay, but knowing that Superman is an old movie that a lot of people...
Superman 1
is an old movie that a lot of people haven't seen, and that Man of Steel has divided the audience, the lesser thing is that Legacy is considered by most people to be the best Superman movie of all time.
I disagree with that. It's like saying that if a crime movie comes out, it's got to be better than The Godfather to be considered good or what. And I don't agree with that at all. Listen, when I go into a movie, the first thing I'm looking for is give me a good experience. Whether you're a drama movie and you're creating a kind of a depth and a power experience, whether you're a horror where you're delivering a scare experience, whether you're like a thriller where you're trying to deliver that type of a shock and thrill experience, whether you're an action movie and you're trying to deliver an excitement experience, a comedy where you're delivering a laughter experience. All I walk into a movie is to go, give me a good experience. And if you do it, I don't give 2 squirts of piss, whether it's as good as another movie that gave me an experience 5 years ago or whatever. I just want that. And if you deliver, listen, Super Mario Brothers is not in the top 500 best animated films of all time. Well, that's exactly, yes, it is in the top 500, but Super Mario Brothers is not a top 10 animated movie of all time. But it doesn't matter. I didn't walk into Super Mario Brothers and go, this better be better than The Lion King. Better be better than Aladdin.
Can we agree, though, that Superman Legacy is a very important movie?
It's 100% a very important movie. But the definition of success for it, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, right? It's not, to me, and only for me, it's not the best Guardians movie they've made, but it's a success. It's a great experience. I had a really good time. Flash is not the best DC movie they've ever made, but guess what? To me, it's a success. It's a great film. They did a great job. Superman Legacy, as the first new, like you're pointing out, Ray, as the first new outing for this brand new DC universe, it's extremely important that it works. But does it have to be the best Superman movie? Like, do I, as a massive Man of Steel fan, do I need to consider it better than Man of Steel in order to like it or consider it a success? Not at all. There are a lot of people who consider Superman 1, the original Christopher Reeves movie, to be the de facto Superman movie. Do those people have to think it's better than that Superman movie in order for the movie to be a success? Not at all. The movie has got to be good, regardless and independent of comparison to any other film. So that's my take on it anyway.
My take is I better not think about Henry Cavill at all after Superman Legacy. That's success for me because I'm going to walk into that movie kind of hurt still. Like, why'd you not give me Man of Steel 2? So, like, as long as I can forget, like, he brings me a new Superman that I enjoy, I think it would be... Yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
that's important to me.
See, I don't need to forget about Henry Cavill's Superman after I watch the movie, but while I'm watching the movie, I got to see this Superman and not just be wishing it was Henry Cavill the whole time. You know what I mean?
The thing is, if you see The Flash, what you have, it's kind of weird. You didn't forget Ezra's crimes and you didn't forget Henry Cavill. So I'm not sure.
I just get me invested in the movie. Just get me invested in the movie. All right, what's next?
From Peter Gunnington. John, do you think we're going to see a big surge in non-scripted shows and movies because of the writer's strike?
Well, all we got to do is look at history. Look at what happened in 2007 in that writer's strike. That was really the big, I mean, there was reality TV and all that kind of stuff before that, but that was the big thing of it. And so, yeah, I do think we're going to see depending on how long the strike lasts.
And let's be clear too, you guys, those shows still have writers.
Yeah.
They still have writers. Yeah. They're non-union writers, which means they're being paid even less than these other folks who are currently picketing.
And what they're writing is garbage.
Yeah, well, and it's usually loose storylines trying to make drama out of things that aren't there. This also led to the rise of certain types of
Sounds like a lot of
reality
old
shows
friends of
too.
mine.
Like
Yeah.
what? 90 Day Fiance? Don't you ever talk about
No,
my
90
show?
Day Fiance is absolute art. I'm with you, Ray.
Oh,
They're-
God.
Thank you.
Things like, we have all these different Bachelor spinoffs now. The
Oh,
Apprentice really blew up after that. I
Right.
mean, it gave a lot of the Kardashians a bigger platform. So
All right, we got to keep moving. We're almost out of time.
sorry.
We got a bunch to still get through. What's next?
from Nelson Capita, why doesn't Netflix have an annual plan?
That's a very good question. I don't know why they don't. You know what I think it might be? I rescind that already before even saying it out loud. I'm surprised they don't have an annual plan. Maybe just because they don't think because if you offer an annual plan, you have to give it at a little bit of a discount. That's the idea. That's why you would get an annual plan. But I don't think they want to give anybody that discount.
Yeah, and people are locked into that the whole year. What if something changes? What if they get a big show and they want to jack it up?
What if they want
it
to?
costs?
That's
What
the
it
thing. Because for us as an audience, the great thing about locking in a year is that you've got it for a year.
Yeah, same thing.
Netflix, they've been raising their prices a lot. And it's like, hey, what if in 4 months we want to jack the prices?
Right,
we don't,
right.
Yeah, that's probably it. You're probably right. All right, what's next?
No, I'm not.
From Devin Lita. Hey, gang, it's been a while. It's been a bit since I super chatted. Watching with a gravelly voice at the moment. Bring on the filthy guys. Birds.
Well, I assume you're probably
birds.
under the weather. I hope you feel better, man. Just kick back, relax, get yourself better as soon as you can. And thanks for watching the show, man. All right, what's next?
From Sam Fisher. So one of the shows on your list was Good Omens, but I could swear that Good Omens was in post-production. Do you still need writers for post-pro?
I have not kept up with Good Omens. It was just the report I was reading in Deadline that said Good Omens is currently being affected by this. So I don't know if they were already underway with the following season or if maybe you reading they were in post-production isn't accurate. I don't know. I just read that was one of the things that was being impacted. It might very well be that they were already in development of the next season. So that could be it. All right, what's next?
From Caleb Jacobs. Have you seen the new Peter Pan and Wendy movie?
I have not. I mean, I thought that, like, unlike most people, even though I think Disney Plus is not great, they deliver some great winners that I did like, but they've also delivered a lot of trash. Even though I don't think Disney Plus is all that great, I thought the trailer for Peter Pan and Wendy actually looked good. I mean, I know a lot of people were very, very offended that there was a girl in the Lost Boys. I get that. There's some people can't handle that. But I thought the trailer looked great. I have not watched it. I'm not hearing great things about it.
Oh, wow. This might be like...
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm not
I'm not hearing
loving
great
what
things
I've
about it.
seen.
I mean,
I'm
is it as
honestly intrigued about Jim Gaffigan as Smee. I think that's fun casting.
I love Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
Is it Smee?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fun. But
He better have a French fry in his mouth.
All right, what's
I want him
next?
to be eating Hot Pockets. Caliente Pocket. Walter
Bonus
Whitewater.
fry.
Are directors who write their own work affected?
If they are members of the WGA, then yes. Yeah, like James Gunn is a member of the WGA. All right, what's next?
From Jennifer Robin 72, wouldn't a measure of tickets sold be better than money since ticket values change over time?
No, I've explained this a million times. You know what? We're going to do an editorial video on this, but I will explain it one more time here. No. Some people believe that you should take inflation into consideration. You should not. Because then you're cherry picking which variables you want to take into consideration. Fact of the matter is there's a million variables. Because you can say, well, in 1978, the dollar was only worth this much. In which you could say, okay, sure. But in 1978, there was only about half the number of films came out that come out now, so less than half the competition. In 1978, there wasn't a $9 billion a year video game industry that was competing against movies for everybody's disposable income entertainment dollars. In 1978, there weren't 15 streaming networks that were competing for people's time and energy and finances in watching those things. So yeah, you can say in 1978, the dollar was a different value, but there was also 15 other things at play. And if you're going to try to take one, then you got to take all of them in. So that's why when the discussion comes up and why I believe the industry doesn't take inflation into account, and they shouldn't, is because, well, then you got to take all the other things into account. We basically go with things balance themselves out. Like, yeah, the tickets are more expensive now, but that movie that made more money is also competing against 50 times more things for people's entertainment dollars than things back then were. There was more competition in theaters than there was before. There's more competition on television than there was before. There's more things with video games that are competing than there was before. So then no. At the end of the day, tickets sold is not a better gauge than dollar value because you either take all the variables into consideration, which mathematically is impossible, or you take none of them. You can't just cherry pick one or the other and say, we're going to apply this variable while we ignore all the other ones. So anyway, I got to do a full video on this sometime. Anyway, what's next?
I was not prepared. Blue Rock 1701. John, I highly recommend Somewhere in Queens, Ray Romano's directorial debut. Very good and satisfying small-scale Italian family drama.
You know what? I saw a preview for that and I totally forgot all about it. I actually really like Ray Romano. I was never watched Everybody Loves Ray. Was that the name of the show?
Raymond.
Everybody Loves Raymond. I never really watched that show all that much, but I've really liked seeing him in other stuff. He was great in The Irishman. I love him in The Big Sick. He's terrific, and I'm actually quite interested. I'm glad you brought it up to remind me. All right, what's next?
From, can we scroll a little?
I got to drag it down. Go.
Hey, Marcellus, my rankings for Star Wars movies is 6, 5, 4, 3, Rogue One, 1, Solo, 2, 7, 8, 9. The Force Awakens used to be higher for me, but the Jedi being dead and Han getting killed by his son left a sour taste with me.
Listen, again, everybody, we're all going to have our individual lists and numbers, and it's all valid. So whatever your reasons are totally good, man.
Yep.
And is that it?
That's it.
Well, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those tip questions and the super chats. Because number one, you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Once again, guys, don't forget, you can check the links down in the description below for all of our sponsors, as well as tickets to our upcoming event this Sunday that will be live. We hope you guys will be able to come out and join us for that. Also, don't forget to come on back and join us tomorrow for tomorrow's installment of the John Campea Show. We'll look forward to seeing you there. So, for everybody in the room, Ray, Jen, Jonathan, Chris Carr, myself, John Campea, thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, may the Force be with you.